All right, so it's been a little bit since I've done a video on MillMage. I have been using it in the background for a lot of my projects. Recently, I cut out the aluminum plates for my Ultimate B CNC Z-axis upgrade, and I used MillMage for all of the cam for that project, and it worked really well. There's been several updates and releases now. I think they're sorry, I'm not. I don't think they are on release candidate 10, so getting closer and closer to a final release. But yeah, I just wanted to set up a project and kind of go over where they're at now. Definitely, if you haven't had a chance to look at MillMage and try it out, I think it's worth looking at. It's definitely not on par with something like a Vectric or a Carveco Maker, but it's also priced when it is released. It's priced to be much lower cost and also a one-time purchase. So I know subscriptions and things like that aren't big for people, and the licensing model of MillMage is supposed to be very similar to Lightburn, meaning that you pay once and then you can continue to use the software forever. But if you want new releases, you can pay a small fee to get an upgraded version. So I do like that. I like owning the software versus kind of paying that rent model. I have an older version of Lightburn. It's worked well for me, and I've only done a couple upgrades here or there. So yeah, I like their model that you pay when there's a feature that you actually want, rather than just paying and getting features that you maybe don't need or want in the meantime. But anyway, with all that being said, let's go through uh, the setup of a project and kind of my tool pathing and some of the things that I've done and used, and also a few new things that we'll see once programmed if they actually work the way I expect them to. So when you launch MillMage, you're going to get a wizard. So basically from here you have two options. One is to open an existing project or continue with the wizard to set up your job. So I will click next. I work in millimeters. There is the option for inches, obviously, but I do work in millimeters, so I'm going to leave that. Next. So it's asking for your stock setup. So generally, if I'm just starting out, I have a general idea of what my stock dimensions are, and I'll input those. You can always go back in after you've set up the project and started working on it and change the dimensions of your stock if you were slightly off or you needed to trim up the stock or whatnot. But you can get started as long as you know the rough dimensions of your stock. So I've got those entered. It also allows you to change your 0 point, whether you're working from a 0 point of the top or the bottom. So if you want to set Z off of your spoil board, you can, which is also a nice feature. I'm going to work off the top of the stock for this project. And then as well, you have the option to set your origin point. So in my case, I will use the front left corner of the stock for the project, but you do have the option to set your origin basically anywhere you want. So center being a pretty handy one and pretty common, but you can also pick any of the other corners if you wanted to. Here you can set your safe clearance height. So basically when it's moving around, things that it has to be aware of. So stuff like clamps, obviously in this picture is what it's showing. If you set this, yeah, it's good to set this at a safe level so you're not running into your clamps. For me, 20 millimeters seems to work. It's probably a little bit high, but it gives me an extra bit of safety margin. So fast retracts when it's moving within the job. Again, as long as it doesn't have to clear a clamp, what does it need to work off of? I find 5 millimeters is fine, but depending on your work holding and what you're doing, you may need to change that. For pocket lift, again, just what you might need to use between different pocketing operations. So again, the default of 5 is good here. So. All right, so now we've got a blank canvas. In my case, I'm going to do, I need a new serving tray, and I figured why, and I have a nice piece of cedar glued up and ready to go. So I thought, why not do the Millennium Falcon serving tray. I think it looks kind of fun, and I might do a couple things later once I get the laser set up with it. So I thought it'd be a good project to have. So we're going to import. I already have an SVG here. You can import DFXs as well. So I'm going to use this, and we're going to, yeah, that looks pretty good on the stock. All right, so to get started, so once you have your piece imported, if I go look at the preview, I have no operations, so that's not going to work. So what I want to do is I want to make a new operation. So one of the things that we'll do is we're going to need to pocket out all of these cavities. So I'm going to go new operation, and we're going to do a pocket operation. And I'm going to say tray, say inside tray. So you can give it a name, which is handy. Then there is the tool library. So I can go select tool, and I have to load a library. 1 second. Sorry, I've just done an upgrade, and this is on a different computer. So I probably need this one. All right, there we go. So I'm going to use a flat nose 1/4 inch compression bit for most of my work, actually. Okay, so I'm going to say, all right. So gives me the option here to set a start depth. So if you had already pocketed down and you needed to do additional clearing, you could set this at, maybe 4 or 5 millimeters. In my case, I'm starting at the top of the stock, so 0. Final depth, let's go down to 15 millimeters. Depth per pass, 4 millimeters should be fine. Again, I'm working in cedar, so it's reasonably soft material. I'm going to change the ramping angle. One of the things that MillMage does allow for ramping. So if you've come from easel or some of the other programs that are a little more limited, it does have, it kind of has some of the fancy features of Vectric and stuff as far as ramping and getting the bit into the material, but then doesn't have all of the same toolpaths just yet. They are working on it, but they're not quite there yet. So it pulls in the default feeds and speeds from my tool library. I need to update these. I've kind of been playing with them and whatnot, but I know that I can do 1920, so I'm going to update that, and then I'm going to make this about half. So 960, 16,000 RPMs on the spindle is good. I'm not using plunge, but I'm just going to update this the same. Okay. And then you have the option to enable or not the vacuum, which is handy. So in my case, when you set up your machine, you can specify what that is. And in my case, it's an M7 command to turn the vacuum on. You can also then set the clearing type. So whether I want to use just an offset clear or a raster clear. I typically like using a raster clear, but I'm going to, set that. And then I generally like to do about a 30-degree angle. Again, it depends a little bit on your grain and the stock that you're using. But this is a good way, depending on how you have your machine laid out and the stock laid out, to avoid cutting with the grain, so you don't get those big long strings and stuff like that. So, and then as well, let's do this as rough, and stock to leave being 1 millimeter. Okay, so we have that first roughing pass done. So we're going to say okay. So now we need to assign some vectors to this pocket. So I'm going to pick this one. I'm going to hold Control, click all of these. And that one. And then I'm going to say assign. So now I've got these assigned. They show up with the dashed arrow, which is cool. And now that I know what I have selected, I can click the preview button and we can see what the machine is going to do at this point. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to go okay. The next thing we need to do is a new operation, and we're going to do a profile, and we're going to say full depth outer cut. Again, I'm going to use that 1/4 inch end mill, and I'm going to set this to the stock bottom, 4mm depth per pass, and we're going to go on the outside. We'll do this. So this is just a 1mm stock to leave. Again, I'm going to set this to 1960, 9, 19, 20, 16, and 960. I really should just update that tool for that. We're going to enable the vacuum, and I'm going to turn on tabs in this case. I want it to do a full cutout, which is fine, but I don't want, so there's 3 types of tabs. There's a ramped tab, partial retract, and a full retract. So full retract means it'll come up and it'll leave a full height tab, so meaning it's the full height of the stock. Partial retract means just that. You can set how tall the tab should be. So I'm going to use a 5mm tab, so 5 by 5. That should be fine because I'm planning to do, actually I want to go a little bit lower. I had this issue. I'm going to put a round over on the bottom of this, but let's do like 8mm long by 3. That should give me enough holding power, but should allow me to zip those off with the round over bit, no problem. So I'm going to say okay. I should go back in here. Rough. I like to denote whether it's the rough pass or not. In this case, I left a stock to leave, so I do need to come back and clean that up or it's not going to be the right dimension. So I'm going to say okay. I'm going to highlight the outer profile and I am going to say assign. Okay, so now I've got that assigned. If I go look, okay, so this is one of the new features that was added a few releases ago, but it's kind of handy. So basically, it's saying I've enabled tabs, but no tabs are showing. Do we want to continue? In this case, I'm going to say no. And let's go ahead and this is the tab tool. So add tabs, and I'm going to add a few tabs here. Again, I'm planning to do a round over cleanup on this later, so I think it should be fine. But I will add a few because I want it to stay in place for sure. Okay, so now I've got the tabs set for this profile, so that's good. Go back to this tool and let's preview it. Now it should work. Okay, so we can see that as it's building, so you can go back here in the time and basically see kind of where it's at and how it's cutting that out. Here you can see that cutting to depth, and you can see if we zoom in here, the tabs that are left. So that should work out just fine. Okay, so at that point, what I would do is I would then do a outer, so for the outer pass, so I'm going to say, I'm going to clone this operation. So this is the full depth outer, full depth outer cut. This is the roughing version. So I'm going to duplicate this and I'm going to change this. Actually, what I'm going to do is going to say outer profile, and this is going to be the finish. Sorry, I'm still working through some of my naming conventions. So I'm going to leave a 0 stock to leave. This is all going to be the same, but what I'm going to say here is I'm going to do a single pass at 39 millimeters. Now this is obviously a pretty deep cut. So when I set up my tool, I need to make sure that I have at least that sticking out of the spindle. So keep that in mind, especially with thicker stock, is that you do need to make sure that your bit can actually reach that. I'm going to leave the tabs as they are, but this will just help clean up the sidewalls from those previous passes. So then we've got this, and I'm going to change this name because I don't really like how long it is. All right, so we got both those, that's done. Okay, so at this point, basically we could send this to the machine and we'd have a reasonably nice tray at that point. But I would like to do something a little bit different that I haven't really used much before, and that is my bowl and tray bit. So what I would like to do is go up here. So this is my inside tray rough. I'm going to adjust this. And what I want to do here is I want to set this to, let's say 9 millimeters deep. And we'll do that. We'll say okay. So this is leaving 1 millimeter of stock. Then I'm going to come in and I'm going to duplicate this. Rough. Let's call this 15. So we're going to start this pass. I'll show you this in the preview. So we're going to start this pass at 9 and we're going to go to 15. But we're going to do a stock to leave of 6 millimeters. Now this I haven't actually tried. I don't know. I don't know how well this is going to work. So we'll see. We'll see. This is a bit of an experiment. All right. So we're going to say okay. We're using the same pieces, and we're going to go here. And so we can see now that we have this little lip. Okay, so it's cutting down. It's got this little lip. So I actually wanted to go back in here, and let's go with like 14.5. Okay. We're going to do that. All right, so now we're going to do one more profile operation. New operation. Actually, we can copy this one. So copy this, move it up. Inside tray. This will be finish bowl. So I'm going to change my tool. And I don't know if it's here or not. No, I think I need to create it still. Okay, so I don't have this bit. Let's go make a new folder. Call this other. And in, oh, why did it do that? Okay, other, and we're gonna make a new bit. So in this case, I have a speed tool, tools. This will be a full bit. We're gonna give it a tool number. It doesn't fit in my rapid change ATC, and actually, I have to remount my ATC, so I'm not thinking I'm gonna use it for this job. But let's set this bit up. Okay, so this is the bit that I have. So it's a 3/4 inch bowl and tray bit with a 1/4 inch radius. So the nice thing in MillMage, given that I work in millimeters, is I can actually set this up pretty easy. So I go over here and the diameter of the bit is going to be 3/4 of an inch. So I'm working millimeters. I'm putting in 3/4 of an inch. It actually converts it, which is quite nice. And then I thought it had a depth of 5/8. Okay, so the depth of the flutes is 5/8. So of an inch. It is a 2 flute. and it has a radius. If we go here, it has a radius of 1/4 inch. So we're going to do 2 flutes, and we're going to do 1/4 inch here as well. So there we have kind of the bit taking shape. So we've got our cutters, we've got our radius defined, and our full width. Okay. Display units in metric. And let's change this to, let's go 1880. I haven't, oops. Oh, that's bad. Okay. 1880. Let's make sure we're not going too fast here. Okay. We'll do a plunge of 880. Sure. These, like I said, I haven't ran this bit yet, so we'll see if it likes this. Ramp angle, I'm going to keep pretty shallow. And then for RPMs, I'm going to go 50. It's a pretty big bit, so let's go 15,000. Depth per pass, I'm going to go, by default, let's go 4 mils. And the step over, I'm going to change this down to 30%, just because it does have that radius. Like, it has a reasonable flat bottom. There's actually probably a better calculation for this. It's probably almost maybe safer to do like 25%. So we select our bull bit. Actually, you know what? I can edit this. I think this has the number on it here. There we go. Under name, that one. Okay, so we've got the bull bit. Apply those changes. Done. So we're doing a finishing pass. So we're going to do a full depth. So we're going to start at 0, and we're going to go to 15. And depth of pass is 4 millimeters. That's fine. Stock to leave is 0 in this case. Everything else looks about right. Make sure here. Okay. So now if I do a select, it will show me the tools that we're using. And if I preview this, you can see now the inside has a radius. So I think it should work. It's a little bit hard to tell, but I think my math works. You know what? I should probably make this stock to leave. Can I do that? Whoops. I didn't mean to do that. Yeah. So let's do 5. So because it's a 1/4 inch radius, I want to make sure that there's enough meat there that it can cut into leave that nice scoop at the bottom. I guess I'm going down another 1/2 millimeter, so I don't know that I need all of that. Let's go 3.5. That should be okay. Okay, so now I've got the inside tray. I've got those all finished. So I do want to do one more operation. So I'm going to do another operation here. And I'm going to do a profile. And in this case, I want to do a round over. And I'm going to set it along the line for this round over. So the start depth will be 0. The finish depth will be 3. Let's go 2.5. And similar 2.5 for this. Let's do 19. Let's do 17,000 on the bit. Okay, so I'm gonna do the select tools now. So again, because I'm working on a different computer, I think, oh no, I do have it entered. Okay, so here's my roundover bit. I'd like to get a different one. I picked this one up cheap off Amazon, and it's only very much okay. and it didn't have all the specs. So I tried to take as much measurement as I could. I haven't actually used it, but I am eager to try it out. So this is the bit that I'm going to use. I'm going to say okay. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to enable the vacuum. I don't need tabs. My ramp angle is low, so I'm okay with that. Okay, so I'm going to move this up. So I was looking at a few videos, and basically the consensus that I found, yeah, it was that doing the roundover first is beneficial before you've done your profile cuts. It just helps break those fibers to leave a cleaner edge. So we'll see if that works. Can't believe everything you see on the internet, so we'll try it. Okay, so now I've got all the different shapes, and I'm going to click the assign button. So now for the roundover job, I've got all of the shapes defined. So now if I click into the preview, what we should see is it's not a very big roundover bit, but you can see in the preview that, that was bad, that you can see that there is a bit of a roundover there. So this should work. All right, so the nice thing here, so I'm going to say okay to this, and then I'm going to save the project here. Okay, so now I've got the project saved. So in MillMage, when I do a save G code, so this is what I need to prepare it for the machine. Now, technically in MillMage, you can control the machine. If I go over to like the move, I have machine control. So I could technically do my probing, I can move the machine, I could do it all from one interface. I'm more comfortable with setting up the probe and setting 0 and doing all that inside of GSender. I've been using it longer and just gotten more familiar with it. So my preference is to do the export, bring it over into GSender and run the program from GSender, but just know that similar to Lightburn, the MillMage software has the ability to control your machine, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to say save G code. Now it has several templates that you can use. So depending on your machine and what you have set up. So if I wanted to, let's say I didn't have a tool changer and I needed to do a manual tool change every time, I could do a tool indexed option here. And you can see it will break it up into the various tools. So it's going to have me do the roundover. It's going to have me do all of the roughing passes. That's interesting. Oh yeah, roughing passes, and then the bowl and tray bit. So this one wouldn't work that great because what it's going to do is it's going to do the inside and then the outer profiles and then have you switch and do the bowl bit. It could work. Those tabs are reasonably strong, but you may want more tabs. This would be the most efficient way to run it, but you might run into issues with the tabs giving way under the stresses of that bowl bit. So a few different ways to run it. You can kind of go through the different presets basically that it has. So sequential. So this is probably be the best way to run it. So you would get 4 files. You would get the roundover file, the 1/4 inch compression, 2 roughing passes, a setup for the bowl bit, and then the 1/4 inch compression outside cut in 4 different files, and you run those one after the other. That would probably be the best way to do that if you didn't have some way to do automated tool change. If you have the M6 command set up in GSender or you have it otherwise defined, if you have a rapid change ATC or a full ATC, then you have other options. So in my case, I'm going to do it as a single file. Yeah, so I'm going to do it as a single file. So basically, this is going to spit out one file that has all of these different operations basically sequentially. And it's going to put in an M6 command that will that'll allow me to do the bit change. Okay. So with that being said, I'm just going to go here and go, well, project. And I will export this. All right, so now I have the job exported. I'm ready to go out to the garage and get this set up on the CNC machine. So hopefully that was helpful. Like I said, MillMage has come a long way. It's got some pretty good operations, pretty good operations library. One of the operations library that I'm sure you can immediately see is missing is vcarve. So for doing signs and some of that sort of stuff, that is a feature that is coming but isn't done yet. And yeah, it definitely will be nice when they have it. But right now, vcarve is not an option. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But I definitely, like I said, I think that MillMage is worthwhile. It is something you should definitely take a look at. And yeah, it's been very helpful and useful to me. All right, the next video will be me out in the garage getting the job set up and cut. Thanks for watching.